Mwilo.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Emily Ominde, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I'm Patrick Geshohi. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm David Majanja. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Machara Njero. Welcome.
Pleasure.
Felix Koske, karibu.
Thank you.
Mohamed Warsame, karibu sana.
Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Olive Mugenda, welcome.
Thank you.
Kehara Kariuki. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Thank you, my lord.
Good afternoon, Honorable Kingori.
Good afternoon.
Anna Madi, Secretary.
Thank you.
Yes, Chief, start by giving us your county and your ethnicity.
My lord, I come from Nyeri County.
Yes.
And I am Kikuyu.
Very well. Give us your qualifications.
My lord,
Be near the microphone.
yes. My lord, I hold an LLB from the University of Nairobi, 1987, and a diploma in law from the Kenya School of Law.
Very well. For how long have you been in the judiciary?
My lord, close to going to 30 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
And there before, my lord, I served 2 years in the public service as a registrar of titles and district lands registrar in Kirinyaga.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, you must be grappling with the backlog of cases.
Yes, indeed, my lord.
Tell us, they are there even in the land and the environment that you are seeking to join.
Yes.
Tell us your personal initiatives that you are bringing that will deal with that perennial problem.
My lord, the first step I would take is to take a case audit to establish the kind of backlog there is, and find out if all the cases there are actually active or some are literally matters that ought to have been dismissed ages ago. And having done that, I'll proceed to list them for dismissal under Order 17 Rules 2. And for those that are active, I would call on the parties to take dates and give priority to old matters that would be 5 years.
Okay. A frantic litigant comes to your court.
Yes, my lord.
And tells you that his piece of land is for sale the following day.
Yes.
And he seeks an injunction. The bank is selling, because he has defaulted, the bank is selling his land.
Yes.
And the following day, and he seeks an injunction.
Yes.
Forget about the notice, forget about the what would be the first thing that would come to your mind? In the ELC court.
The party would be trying to protect his rights, and I would give him the opportunity to be heard, and but require that he has to serve the bank.
Very well.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner AG.
Thank you, Chair. Your Honor, what is the jurisdiction of the court to which you aspire?
My lord, the jurisdiction of the court is set in Articles 162 of the Constitution.
What is that jurisdiction?
And it is to deal with the matters environment, matters of use of land, of occupation of land, and title to land.
And what reforms have been introduced by the Constitution since 2010?
Very fundamental reforms. The Constitution 2010 created the office of the National Land Commission. It wasn't there. We had an office called the Commissioner of Lands, who was in charge of land administration in the country. So that is such a, a dramatic.
Have any new laws been enacted?
Yes. There were several acts on registration of land. They have been codified presently to one, the Registration of Land Act.
Tell us what judicial independence means to you.
My Lord, it is the quality or virtue of being able to make a decision without looking behind you. It refers to when we say that we administer justice without fear and favor. Independence is encapsulated in that fear.
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner DCJ.
Thank you, Chair. You have been around for, did you say 30 years?
Yes, going to 30 years.
What has been your contribution to changing the way we do things?
My Lord, I have been a good example in the stations where I have worked. I have endeavored to make an impact wherever I've been posted.
Specifics?
In the way that I learn the station, I've been head of station for quite a number of years.
Specifics, Chief. You must sell yourself.
Yes.
You have been around here for 30 years. There is that one thing that only Chief Kingori has done,
yes.
Okay? Or only Chief Kingori could do towards changing us, the institution. What is that thing? What are those things?
My Lord, I have been a transformative leader. I encourage the people working under me to play their part in the station, in their different areas, right from the lowest cadre of the support staff.
Of the 7 pillars we have in SJT, which is your favorite?
It's enhancing access to justice.
And you've done that?
Yes, I have.
And I'm asking you for specifics and you're not giving us?
My Lord, I have, where I have worked, I have, we learn a customer care desk so that we don't have consumers of justice or clients getting lost, from where they are directed to the different courts and different registries that they may be intending to visit. That's one of them. I have.
Let's get closer to you.
Yes.
This is you who is at the interview, not the stations where you have served.
Yes.
What is the jurisdiction of a chief magistrate in land matters?
It is up to the remit of a land whose value is below 20,000.
So this is since when? And you are the chief magistrate. So how many land matters have you handled?
Your Honor, I cannot tell offhand, but I've handled a considerable number.
Okay, of the ones you have handled,
Yes.
you know you're leading me to the next question. I wish you could stop me. Of the ones you have handled, which one was the most difficult? What was the aspect for determination that you found a bit challenging? What was that? And how long ago was that?
About last year, I think I remember handling a case where one party, where the plaintiff sought to evict a person who was in possession of land, and I disallowed the claim.
You?
I disallowed the claim, my lord.
Why? Because it was eviction.
Because the person in occupation had overriding interests, and when this person purchased the land, he was aware of that.
Thank you,
because he
Chief.
found him on the land.
Chief Justice.
Thank you, Commissioner Wasami.
Let's begin from where you left.
Yes.
Tell us 4 types of overriding interests.
Customary law, trust is an overriding interest. A spousal interest is an overriding interest. Light of way is an overriding interest, and also light to natural light.
Okay.
Yes.
And lastly, for me, in a trust document,
Yes.
there are 3 components. Tell us the 3 components in a trust document. If you're not there,
Yes.
I'll give you an alternative question.
Yes, my lord.
Tell us what is the difference between a title and a deed document.
A title is a document evidencing ownership of land. A deed is not necessarily that.
Okay. I wish you well, Mr. Kingori.
Thank you, my lord.
Thank you, CJ.
Thank you, Commissioner Majanja.
Thank you, CJ. I see from your CV you have had the opportunity of being a land registrar
Yes, my lord.
and a judicial officer.
Yes.
From your experience in both spheres, can you tell us some of the schemes or the fraudulent schemes people use to deprive people of land? Probably 2 examples, and how the law has dealt with them.
My lord, in some instances, an ignorant landowner may be led through the processes of, of sale, and he ends up losing his land when in fact he did not intend to sell the land. He could probably have intended to lease the land.
Yes.
Yes. I've stated, my lord, that in some instances a landowner who is illiterate may be led down the garden path, and thinking he is leasing or letting out his land is is led to sign transfer documents, and fake consents could be obtained from the RAD Control Board, and the RAD registrar, unaware of this, registers the transfer. Yes.
Another one.
Another one is where intending fraudsters, fake ID cards, the fake title deeds, and colluding with the land officers. They make entries in, they create a register in the land office, so that if you were to conduct a search, you go and find that actually the land exists. And a purchaser ends up buying land only for the real owner to come up and say, this is my land. And when...
Okay.
Yes.
The other questions you talked about overriding interests.
Yes.
Are you aware of the Supreme Court case
Yes.
that dealt with overriding interests?
Yes, I am aware.
And you said they are provided for in the statute, isn't it?
Yes.
So what particular finding did the Supreme Court make that protected that overriding interest over and above what the statute provides?
My Lord, to the best of my recollection, a person in possession, the Supreme Court held that a person in possession had an overriding interest, and they also held that if this overriding interest is noted in the register, it is no longer an overriding interest.
Okay. And finally, can you tell us one treaty or convention protecting the environment that is applicable in Kenya?
The Rio Convention on the Environment, Rio de Janeiro Convention.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Njeru.
Okay. I'll ask you two questions, but both related. The first one is in regard to leases.
Yes.
Which leases must be registered? Leases of what period?
It's leases of over 10 years.
Over 10 years?
Yes.
Okay. Is that under what law? Because you said you've been a registrar.
Yes.
Lands.
Yes, but basically I was I dealt with the leases under Cap 300.
Okay.
But I'm aware that a lease of more than 10 years has to be registered.
All right.
Yes.
Now you check that again.
Yes.
But let's assume that a lease must be registered, but it's not registered.
Yes.
But the parties start observing the terms of that lease.
Yes.
And then one of the parties defaults.
Yes.
And in an attempt to enforce the terms of the lease,
Yes.
The party against whom the lease is being enforced says that this lease is illegal because it was never registered. How would you determine that?
I would treat that lease as a periodic lease. Yes, for year to year.
Okay.
Yes.
Now there was
I would treat that as a periodic lease of from year to year. Yes.
And do you remember the famous case of Walsh versus Lonsdale? What, if you do, what were the principles behind that case? What is the famous statement of the court of appeal in that case?
My Lord, I can't quite remember the facts and the holdings.
Equity you treat as done, which ought to have been
done.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Dete.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Your Honor, the commissioners have gone through the sample ratings that you supplied us with.
Yes.
They are all decisions, and the reason why we call for them is to enable us evaluate you on your communication skills.
Yes,
and by the way, even oral. So it's in your interest that you talk in a way that we all get to hear.
Yes, my
Then you don't have to be told all the time to raise your voice.
Yes.
But the sample writings are on written communication skills and good judgment.
Yes.
Now, you have applied for ELC.
Yes, my lord.
Have you done, and the Honorable DCJ asked you whether you have done any ELC matters?
Yes.
You have?
Yes.
Because I note that the sample ratings you've supplied us with, one is 2016 running down decision.
Yes, my lord.
The other one is criminal 2011, and then 2 election petitions of 2018, and 1 defilement.
Yes, my lord.
Matter. So you realize that there is a gap in terms of the relevance.
Yes.
You
my
realize
lord,
that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, that is one issue. But I just have one other question for you. In your discussion with the Honorable AG, you mentioned the issue of the defunct Office of the Commissioner for Lands.
Yes.
That was traditionally the office that was responsible for alienation of public land. Of course, it was the president through that office.
Yes.
Under the Land Act now, Section 12, there are parameters of the methods through which public land may be allocated, the methods of allocation. There are about 6. Could you tell us what they are? There is land here which is public. It needs to be allocated to private individuals.
Yes.
What methods would they use to allocate?
My lord, the commission, the National Art Commission would require to gazette.
That has been done. Now it's time to allocate. What methods would they use? For example, one is through public auction. What is the other? What are the other methods?
Settlement.
Okay, you can look up that later. And I wish you all the best, Your Honor. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Ichoi.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Council, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my lord.
We want us to focus now to public service. I'm sure you are aware that you are a state officer.
Yes.
And under the Constitution, there are values and principles that guide state officers. Could you share with us 4 of those principles?
One of them is high standards of professional ethics.
Professionalism, yes. 2.
The other one is economic and efficient use of resources.
Economic, yes. 3.
The other one would be prompt and transparent provision of correct information to the public.
Good. Last one.
Fair opportunities.
Good. Yes. That's enough, Council. Mr. Chairman, the other question is, under the economic use of resources, the public service have been struggling with the methods that you can make sure that the public resources are used effectively and efficiently. We still have a big challenge.
Yes.
Could you share with us any of those challenges if you are aware?
Yes, there is a challenge of misuse.
Okay. Call it corruption.
Yes.
Could you share with us how we'll be able to tackle corruption in the judiciary, wherever in the public service?
My lord, one of the areas which is fatal for corruption is in procurement of services.
Mm-hmm.
And this is an area where opportunities for corruption exist, but still there are opportunities for, reduction or elimination of corruption.
Let's go to the question.
Yes.
You are head of the station in Bugoma.
Yes.
And I'm sure you're also AIE holder.
Yes.
How do you address that problem? Right on the ground.
Whenever there is need to procure goods or services, we put in place a procurement committee, and this need will have been informed by requisitions from user department, whereby we know exactly what we need. We ensure that there is money for that activity. Then a committee, a procurement committee sits.
Okay.
And tenders are invited and
finally, Mr.
submitted
Chairman,
and assessed. And
that's enough.
Yes.
Finally, do you have any audit queries in your station?
Yes, there were audit queries in the last financial year, which we answered.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Commissioner Mugenda.
Thank you, CJ. Just two questions from me.
Yes.
You have headed stations for a few years.
Yes.
And you also told us that you are a transformative leader.
Yes.
So my question is, how have you transformed those stations where you are heading? Yeah.
Yes, my road, I have transformed the station by sensitizing the people I read on the importance of their individual role for the success of service provision in the station. And they have taken up their duties with enthusiasm, seeing as it were that they are recognized as being very crucial for the success of our operations and service delivery.
So as a result of them working hard and all that,
yes.
did something happen? Just one thing, like you can say, I think as DCJ asked,
yes.
that you can say that in this station, if it were not for me, this would not have happened.
Yes, we get feedback every now and then from the public that they are satisfied, they are happy with what we are doing.
Okay, my second question is on diversity, and maybe you can explain to us a situation whereby you went out of your way,
yes.
Chief, to make sure that the marginalized access justice in your court. Maybe if you can think of one scenario where you feel that you did it tried or demonstrated that you respect the Constitution as far as dealing with the marginalized people is concerned. Maybe you can tell us who are the marginalized in the first place.
They are the disadvantaged people, women and persons with disabilities are considered marginalized.
So have you dealt with any of them in your court?
Yes, we have.
Mm-hmm.
We have constructed a lamp to my chambers,
mm-hmm.
and we have one advocate who is basically charged in our court, and we because the staircase accessing the courts are quite steep and there are several. I allow him to use my door to access the courtroom, and in my chambers, because of financial implications, I was able to to elect a lamp. So whenever he needs to access my chambers, he is able to easily come in.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Commissioner Kuski.
Thank you, Chair. Chief, I have two questions.
Yes, my lord.
Yeah. What is the distinction between corporate social responsibility and charity?
Corporate social responsibility refers to the obligation that an institution or a corporate person or persons have towards the society, giving back to the society in which they operate. And but charity refers to the acts of mercy to very disadvantaged people, like the disabled. But for corporate social responsibility, is much wider. It doesn't have to be for charitable cases.
Okay, thank you. And, question number 2.
Yes.
When did you last sing the national anthem?
I think during the annual colloquium. Yes,
which version are you good in? In Swahili or in English?
In English.
So can you sing to us the second stanza?
Let all in one arise.
It's okay, just say.
In a common good united.
Thank you, you have tried. Thank you, you know it. Thank you, Chair. You have tried.
Thank you, Commissioner Minde.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Kingori.
Yes, my lord.
Before the enactment of, before the adoption
yes.
of the Bangalore Principles
yes.
of judicial conduct.
Yes.
And remember, for quite a while, we had also not developed a code of conduct for judicial officers.
Yes.
I think that's something that happened in the mid-90s,
yes.
early 2000. And the Constitution also had nothing on how state officers ought to conduct themselves
yes.
In the day-to-day discharge of their functions.
Yes.
What was your guiding principle on matters of judicial conduct to ensure that the integrity and professionalism of the institution of the judiciary is upheld at all times by yourself in the discharge of your day-to-day functions as a judicial officer?
There were unwritten, there was an unwritten code of conduct, and it generally guided judicial officers. I knew I was not supposed to solicit, funds in the office, because that would automatically compromise, my possession. I knew I should not, get drunk and disorderly. That would have brought disrepute to the high office of a magistrate. I knew what places to go. Social places, that is. I would not visit places that members of the public would would wonder if really I was a judicial officer. For instance, I couldn't go to brothels. Well, we were able to still behave as judicial officers of integrity, even though we didn't have rules, just like the British are able to operate without a constitution. Yes.
So
There were
where are
certain,
these rules of behavior coming from?
There were standards, there were traditions set over time, and that were generally accepted by the officers. Yes.
Okay, thank you. I wish you well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. You are really